We will begin. Yes. Uh, Nihar, you read this prayer. I'll share the screen. Nihar, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Continue.
O Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for ways in which you provide for us all. For your protection and love, we thank you. Help us to focus our hearts and mind now on what we are about to learn. Inspire us with your blessings as we listen and write. Guide us by your eternal light as we discover more about the world around us.
Okay, Amen. So now, in last lecture, we have already covered chapter number 2. That is, we have finished with chapter number 2, right? And then after chapter number 2, we are about to start with chapter number 3. But the point is that many students have not finished with their ER diagram that is related with chapter number 2.
Hello, ma'am. Now,
Hello.
ma'am, now we can hear.
1 minute. I have just removed my headphone. I'll again connect it.
Okay, ma'am.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
So before whatever
Yes.
I spoke was not audible to you.
No, ma'am.
Oh my God, lots of thing I told. Anyways, I'll repeat. Uh, so you should tell me, students, when you're not able to listen me, please inform me. I give lots of instructions. Anyways, today we are going to start with chapter number 3. Chapter number 3 is relational model and relational algebra. This chapter is divided into these two parts. Out of these two parts, we are going to cover the first part in today's session, that is a relational model. In relational model, we are not going to see anything about relational algebra today. So after that, in relational model, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. So today we are going to see these points. We are going to learn about the relational model, introduction about that, and a few points related with that we will cover in today's lecture. An important point we are going to learn today is the mapping the ER and ER model to relational model. This is one of the important point for relational model. Okay, this we are going to see today. And this is about the relational model which we will not see today. So I'll make a slideshow which will be, yeah. So before beginning with this point, I spoke about the question which they usually ask in exam. So in exam, they ask the question for particularly the question will be from this part about the relational model. They will ask you integrity constraint. Define all integrity constraint. That is data integrity part. So that question they may ask you for 10 marks, and usually they have asked for many exams. Again, they may ask you the question about a short note on relational model, 10 marks. And this is important part, mapping the ER and ER model to relational model. So those groups who have not started finished with their problem definition correction and ER diagram, kindly finish it before next week, and you have to upload it by next week. I have extended the date for that on Google Classroom. So accordingly, you upload your write-up. At the end of the lecture, I will tell you what type of write-up you are supposed to make. Okay. So in exam, they ask you question, maybe 20 marks question or 10 marks question. If it is a 10 marks question, then they will provide you ER diagram and they will ask you convert this ER diagram into relational model. That is 10 mark question. Second, they will ask you the theory about the conversion of ER/ER diagram to relational model. That is a theory. All rules you have to write. Okay. And third question, they may ask you draw an ER diagram for given problem statement and convert the ER diagram into relational model. So that is totally 20 marks question. So any type of question they may ask you. So we'll start with relational model. This relational model was proposed by Codd in 1970. The model basically deal with the database management from abstract point of view. Basically, it is completely related with your database management, how to manage your database with what type of structure. It provides you the specification of abstract database management system, and the model is very easy for understanding, although it is based on the solid theoretical fundamentals that include predicate calculus and the theory of relation. So it is it consists of few notations and everything, but still it is easy to understand. Anyone can create the model. This model is a combination of three components. The components are listed here. One is data structure, second is data manipulation, and data integrity. So these are three important parts of this relational model. Okay. So data structure and algorithm. In that you have already studied what is data structure. So it is nothing but the collection of data structure types which are used for building the database. Okay. Now in the relational model, a relation itself is the data structure. Relation means any particular row which is having the relation data, that itself is a kind of data structure. Okay. Then this relational this relation which we are going to see is having different uh, properties in the relational model. We have already studied the relational model means table structure in chapter number 2, where we have seen the different data models, 4 types of model. So in that we have covered relational model also. In short, I have covered that. So that is a table structure and all the properties of that we have seen. So just we will revise it. Can you tell me, relation is nothing but it contains the number of records. What are the different names we use for a row in table or relation model? What are the different names we use for a row? Relation means table. Remember, relation means table. So what are the properties of this table? What are the properties of this relation? So different names we relation table means collection of rows and columns, right? That we have seen. So for rows, what are other names we use in terms of database? We have covered this part in chapter number 2. So can anyone give the answer? Different names we use for a table or sorry, row. Unmute yourself and give answer. Because right now my slideshow is going on, so I cannot see you. Anyone? What
Rows
is
are also called as record
yes, rows
or
are called as
tuple.
or tuple, correct. So there are two names. So same way here, rows are called as, right? So in
And
columns,
also,
yes.
And also fields.
Fields, correct. Fields, attributes, or column. These are the different names we use for a column, which stores the value for particular row, consisting the row for that particular, you can say, entity, right? So now here there is no order of rows and columns, then like ascending or descending, because every by name of the column itself you can get the value for particular cell. Also with the name of the row particular thing you can get the value. So there is no need to have any ordering for rows and column in relation. So this is the property for the relation in relational model. Okay, now here second part is a data manipulation. So this data manipulation is nothing but the collection of operators that may be used to retrieve, derive, or you can say build a database or modify data stored in the data structure. Okay, so here it is definition is given. It is a collection of operators to retrieve, derive, build a database or modify data stored in the data structure. So data manipulation, for this we use a data manipulation language. Okay, so next, we are going to see this in detail in next slide. So I'll just go ahead. Data integrity is nothing but a collection of rules that implicitly or explicitly define a consistent database state or change of state. Here, this data integrity is nothing but constraint. In your syllabus, they have mentioned. So this part is very important for 10 marks. What are the different data integrity constraints? Okay, or constraint. Constraint means rules, you can say. Okay, so these are collection of rules that implicitly or explicitly define a consistent database state or change of state. So again, we will see this in detail. So data manipulation language, which we are going to see, that is a data manipulation. Basically, this is one of the things where the primary purpose of this is of a database in an enterprise. Basically, when we are creating a database, the main thing of database is what? To store the information and to provide the information to whoever is working in that particular enterprise. So that is the main concern while to create a database, right? So now here, this process, the process of querying a relational database is an essence way of manipulating the tables that are the database. So basically, to provide the data to the user, we require to write a query. So we are querying to the relational database to provide the data. So in that case, you require somewhere to adjust your database, to add your information into the database, to remove, delete the information from the database, and so on. Many things. So that is nothing but we have to perform some operations on the tables or relation of the database, right? Two formal languages were proposed or presented by the Cord when he proposed the relational model. So one is relational algebra, second is relational calculus. So here, as per your syllabus, we are going to learn relational algebra. In syllabus, they have not mentioned the relational calculus. If time permits, or if I get time, I will cover the few aspects of the relational calculus. But that is optional. Right now, I cannot say because depends on the online timing. Okay. So, if time permits, I will cover this relational calculus as an extra thing for you people. But relational algebra, we will learn whatever is asked in the syllabus. Now here, for all these languages, you require update, insert, delete. So that we will learn in detail for data manipulation. Those things we will learn when we will start with chapter number 4, that is your SQL query. Okay, so right now I am not going in detail of that. Next is data integrity. The main purpose, main aim of the data integrity is to specify the rule that implicitly or explicitly define a consistent database state or change of the state. In what particular state your database is right now. So that is one of the important things that you have to provide. So that you have to identify. These rules may include some facilities like those provided by most programming languages for declaring the data types, which constrain the users from operations like comparing data of different data types or assigning a variable of one type to another and so on. So basically the why this is to specify the rules. These rules are important because you have to restrict particular user to, suppose I have created a roll number with integer type and someone is adding the value in a character type. So definitely my system will not accept that value. So to restrict someone from adding the data which is not in the proper format, that is one way. Then different things, suppose I don't want anyone else to change the value of whatever values I have added for a column. So that is another restriction. So same way you may have number of restrictions. So to avoid all the other users to manipulate your data, that for that you are creating a rule. Those are known as the integrity constraint or data integrity rules. Okay, to stop, that is done. It can be done as a constraint, the same thing I told you. Basically this is done to stop the user for doing the things which are not making any sense to modify your database. Okay, these integrity constraints which we are going to create are very important to avoid the situation. For example, we'll go with the example now. Some data has been inserted in your database. Assume that you have created one table. For example, cricket player table you have created. Okay, player was an entity, so you have created that relation or table for a player, and you have inserted few records in that. Suppose who all are currently uh, on particular team. So that data you have added in that, but it cannot be identified. Some data you have already inserted, but when I want to retrieve that data, I'm not able to get that data. Then there is some problem with your database. So for that purpose I require this integrity constraint. Second, player has retired. Suppose now Sachin Tendulkar, you already know that. So he retired, but still his name is appearing in your database as he is a player of Indian team. So that is a problem, right? So somewhere you have not updated your database and the data is not giving the proper result. So that is again you have to modify your table. So that is you need to provide some integrity constraint. If your player is retired, so somewhere in retired relation you will remove the player name, and that will reflect in all the table wherever that retired relation is connected, right? So that is data integrity important. So integrity constraint can be defined as a condition specified on your database that restrict your data that can be stored in a database. So basically this constraint are nothing but rules or condition. Okay, remember that those are you are putting on your data of your database to restrict someone to modify your database or to store the data in a database. Okay, so as I just now I show you, there are two types of this data integrity. One is static integrity constraint, second is dynamic integrity constraint. Static integrity constraint are nothing but valid steps of data. Okay, these constraints include designation of primary key. Basically this static integrity constraint is nothing but assigning the primary key properly, the working of the primary key. And dynamic integrity constraint define the side effects of various types of transaction. If something you inserted, something you removed, some data you have transferred, then what will happen? So that is nothing but the dynamic integrity constraint. Certain static integrity features of relational model are primary keys, foreign keys, and referential integrity, domains, and nulls. Out of this, when the question is asked about the data integrity constraint or only integrity constraint, then you have to write all this, all the types, then primary key constraint, null value constraint, domain, then foreign key constraint, referential integrity constraint. Again, you can also go for unique key constraint. Okay, so we'll see this one by one. Okay, first keys part. Already we have covered this keys part in chapter number 2 in detail. That's why I have covered it over there so that it will continue for next chapter. So here I am not going to cover all this. We have seen what is super key with the proper example. We have seen what is candidate key with the proper example, and we have covered primary key. All these keys are very required in this relational model. That's why that they have added here also. So we have seen all this. No, these properties are very important when you are writing for an integrity constraint. No components of a primary key value can be null. If you are saying student roll number is a primary key, then for every student you must add the value for a roll number. You cannot keep that cell as a empty. Okay. No two rows can have the same primary key. That is roll number 1 and roll number 2. They will not have roll number 1 both. Both will have a different number as roll number is a primary key. So every student will have a different value for a primary key. Attempt to change the value of the primary key must be done carefully and in controlled manner. So that I already gave example. If you are providing email ID as a primary key, so any person's email ID you may change anytime. So in that case, first thing, you should not allot the key to such a attribute which you may change. But by mistakenly you have added, and if you want to modify it, particular value of particular employee, if you want to modify, see to it that it will not affect the other tables. Okay. Next, foreign key. Foreign key I have. What is a foreign key? Can anyone tell me what is a foreign key? It's very important in this conversion of ER to ER. Sorry, ER to relational model. Can anyone tell me what is a foreign key? We have seen primary key, candidate key, super key. Super key is the supermost key by considering all the attributes of the relation. Candidate key is a subset of the super key where you may have more than one candidate key which can act as a primary key. Out of those candidate key, one key you will select as a primary key which can be same as your candidate key. Okay, so that we have covered. Then what is a foreign key? Can anyone
Foreign
tell me?
key is a combination of primary key along with any other column,
Any other column?
any other attribute.
No.
Ma'am,
Yes.
it is a primary key from another table which has a relationship with the table.
Yes, it is a primary key of one table which is referred in some another table. Okay, so that I will show you with proper example, because last time I have not shown you this with a diagram. I have just shown you with explanation. So this is a proper definition. A relation schema may have an attribute that corresponds to the primary key of another relation. The attribute is called foreign key. Now, what is a relation schema? Basically, that is the first question for you people, right? So, we have already seen the ER diagram for banking system, right? In that banking system, for branch, we were having three attributes, right? So that is, I think, branch city, branch name, and asset. So here, a branch is the name of my table. Inside that, in round bracket, I am having attributes such as branch name, branch city, and asset. Out of that, branch name is a primary key. And I'll close the bracket. This is known as a relation schema. So that is a table with column without values. That is known as a relation schema. Now in this schema, when I am having, suppose I am having some another attribute, for example, I was having loan, branch was related with loan, right? So try to recall the diagram. So, no, the diagram is on second chapter. Here I have, but I have added for explanation. That I will explain. So here, branch is related with loan. So if I am having loan ID as one of the attribute in my branch schema, then I can say loan ID acting as a foreign key in my relation branch. Okay, loan ID acting as a foreign key in my relation branch. Okay, forget. I will explain you over here. This definition, in this definition, primary key of one table is also present another table as a foreign key. Okay, that definition is given. A relation schema may have an attribute that correspond to the primary key of another relation. That I will explain. Customer name. Okay, so now see this diagram for your understanding. Here I have branch as a table. Branch name is the primary key. These are the primary keys which are highlighted. Then branch city is the attribute and asset is the attribute. Okay. Account is my table. Account number is the primary key and balance was the attribute. But here I have added branch name, which was not the attribute of my account relation. Okay. Similarly, I have customer relationship. Customer name was my primary key. Here I have just shown customer name as a primary key. Customer street and customer city I have taken as an attribute. Then I have loan number. Loan number is a primary key. Branch name and amount. Again here branch name is not a key attribute of my loan. So now branch is connected with borrower relation and loan. So now here first we'll go for account and depositor. So customer deposit in an account. Customer deposit in an account, right? So depositor is my relation, diamond, and these two were entities, account and customer. I'll just so here this account was my entity as per the ER diagram. This depositor was my relation and customer was my entity. Fine. So now here this account and customer relation both were many to many. Many customer can have many account, right? And many customer can deposit in many account. So for that, what I have done, primary key of customer that is present in my depositor relation table or table, and primary key of account is my account number which is present here, right? So these primary keys, these are the attributes from another table where they are acting as a primary key, but they are present in some another relation, that is a depositor relation. So here they are called as a foreign key attribute, which are primary key a relation. This is a schema, depositor schema, whole or schema, relation schema may have an attribute that correspond to the primary key of some another relation. Here this relation and this relation. Then it is called as a foreign key. So here this customer number and account number are acting as a foreign key. Similarly, with borrower, right? So here they have added customer with loan. Customer take loan. So customer name is a primary key of customer and loan number is a primary key of loan entity. So this is here they are acting as a foreign key. Okay, now clear everyone? Here they have again taken branch name here, which is a primary key of branch. So here it is a primary key and here it is a foreign key. Everyone clear? So only primary key can act as a foreign key. No other attribute can act as a foreign key. Yes, any doubt? That is about the foreign key. Now, these are the very important definition. Remember here, the foreign key. What is the foreign key definition? Proper definition with the in terms of relation. The foreign key in table R. Okay, so here in this case, this is table R. Foreign key in table R is a set of columns whose values are required to match those of the primary keys of some table S. So in this case, Suppose we are taking only one consider this is S relation. Okay. So here whichever value customer for customer name and account number, all the values which are present in this depositor relation need to be somewhere matching with this customer name from this customer relation and account number from this account number. Suppose I am having account number values as 1, 2, 3, and here in account number I inserted the value as 4, which is not present in the list of values of my actual relation, that is my account relation. So this is not valid. So whatever values you are having need to be present over here, or you can have this value as a null in foreign key table, not in primary. Here you need a value. Okay, so here that is given in proper database language. The foreign key in table R, that is in our case depositor, is a set of columns whose values are required to match those of the primary keys of some table S, that is our customer and account relation. S and R are not necessarily distinct. Okay, that may be same or different. That is another case. Now using this, the definition of referential integrity is given, which is very important for 5 marks question. They will ask you short note on referential integrity. For that, you will explain all this procedure. What is a foreign key with the proper example with database language definition, and finally you will come over here. If a foreign key F in table R, that is foreign key right now take account number. Okay, so this is our account number. Right now I'm just simply write account number. R is suppose my table depositor. Refers to and matches the primary key P. Primary key P means again account number of table S, that is my account table. Of table S means my account table. Then every value of F, that is here, must either be equal to a value of P, that is a primary key value, or be wholly none. So here in this case you can see whatever value I just now I told you, these values can be null or those need to be matched with the values present in a primary key. Not other value you can have for this. Here you can insert any value in this table as per whatever data you are available. But these values need to match with primary key of the respective table. That is known as that procedure is known as a referential integrity or referential integrity constraint. Clear referential integrity constraint is very important to start with to work with your database foreign key. Fine. So now here next part is a domain. What is a domain? In attribute domain somewhere I have covered the domain, right? Remember what is a domain in that? What is a domain? Anyone? Somewhere in attribute we have seen domain. I already, yeah.
Set of
Shivam.
permitted values for each
Correct.
attribute.
For permitted set of permitted values uh, which are given, from that only you can have the value. For example, I have given the I think student name or customer name something, and the list was in curly bracket John and ABC so and so, right? So that was the example given. So only you can have the value from that domain. So that is the domain. It is important to denote different domains to constrain unions, intersection, differences, equijoins of table, and so on. Let the system check if two concurrences of the same database value denote the same real world object. That is, suppose if you are specifying particular domain, again this part we will study in SQL also. So suppose you are saying this value should be from so and so domain only, then that has to follow in terms of suppose data type you are specifying for the column. So it has to follow that domain data type. Fine. Now, last for this integrity constraint is your null values. Null values, as I told you, it is possible for a tuple to have a null values denoted by null for some of the attributes, because every time it is not possible that we are having all the values present for each and every attribute. Okay, primary key cannot be null. That is one rule. What are the other rules for null values you can have? Why we are specifying the null values? Null signifies an unknown value or that a value does not exist. This is very important question for your Viva also. External ask you, why are you using the null keyword or null values for the relation? So that is null specify that right now I don't know the value for this particular student. So I will add later on. So I have kept it null. That is one thing, that value does not exist. Unknown value, I don't know the value, so I am not specifying any random value, I am just keeping it null. The result of any arithmetic expression involving null is null. So any arithmetic operation if you are doing with null, then the result is null. Aggregate functions simply ignore the null values. What are aggregate functions? Forget right now, we will see that in chapter number 4, but for exam point of view, if you are writing the answer for integrity constraint, you should know that aggregate functions simply ignore the null values. That we will see in detail for chapter 4. Advantages of relational model. There are lots of advantages. If you are going to internet, you will get number of advantages. I have listed few for your understanding. One is data independence. Why data independence? Because it provides a sharp and clear boundary between the logical and physical aspects of your database management. Clearly, it gives you ER diagram. Clearly, it specifies the relation in your software. Okay. Simplicity. Give you the simple structure which you can use for communication between different organizations, because SQL queries are not difficult. You can write your query easily. In that language you can communicate with the system. Set processing, that is provide facilities for manipulating a set of records at a time. Means at a time you can modify number of records together. Okay, so that is also possible, and so many advantages are there. I have listed these important one. That was the basic introduction about the relational model. Till here, any doubt any student is having, you can ask right now, because we are going to move with the next topic. So any doubt anyone is having, you can ask. If no, then just specify in chat so that I'll come to know that topic is clear. We can move ahead. About foreign key, if it is doubt, again in this conversion, you will come to know now in detail. Actual conversion, we will see with banking example. Okay, so you're saying no doubt, so we'll move ahead. Okay, fine, thank you. So we'll move ahead. This is now very important part. Student, kindly pay attention for this. Okay, and if you are having not understanding any part, please ask. Mapping the ER and ER model to the relational model. Now here, you all have a banking example in front of you. That is, I think, this diagram. No, diagram is after that. You everyone keep the banking example diagram in front of you, because every time I cannot show you the diagram and then again conversion, because that will like I have to go many slides behind and coming towards that. So we'll go reduction of relational schema one by one. Primary keys allow entity sets and relationship sets to be expressed uniformly as relation schemas that represent the content of the database. So I already told you what is a relation schema. Schema is nothing but that particular table structure of your table, right? So the table name with all its attributes, in that you will have one primary key, is known as a relation schema. So primary key why required? Because it will identify your table uniformly, uniquely. Okay. A database which conforms to an ER diagram can be represented by a collection of schema. So once you have created the ER diagram, that ER diagram you can represent with the help of number of schemas. Collection of all those together, that schema together is known as a relational model. Okay. For each entity set and relationship set, there is a unique schema that is assigned the name of the corresponding entity set or relationship set. So every entity and every relationship set which is present in your ER diagram will be represented as a table or relation. Table means relation, remember this, in a relational model. Okay, now for that we will see rules, so you will come to know in detail. But remember, for entity and relationship set, you have to draw a table. Each schema has a number of columns which have unique names. Every schema means collection of all the attributes with the table name, that is the entity name. Okay, so that consists of number of attributes. Out of that, one is primary key attribute, which will uniquely identify your relation or table or your schema. Okay, so representing entity sets as a schema. So in a banking example, how many entities were there? Keep that diagram in front of you if you have. And if you are opening that diagram through PPTs, then keep half side diagram and half side this which I am presenting. So can you tell me how many entities were there in that?
Eight.
8. Just list those entities. One was
Branch,
branch,
loan,
loan,
customer, payment,
customer, payment,
account, employee,
account, employee,
and saving. There was something saving and checking.
saving account
Special
and checking
special
account.
entities. Yeah.
Those are special. I don't want those. Right
Okay,
now,
then
I
just
just want normal entities. So we were having customer, we were having loan, branch, account, employee. Then we were having payment. Yeah, that's it, right? So now to convert, how many types of entities we have seen? How many types of entities? There are two types of entities, right, student? One we saw strong entity set, and second is weak entity set, right? Remember, strong, which consists of its own primary key and can identify each and every entity uniquely, and a weak entity set which does not carry consist of primary key, and it depends on. Strong entity set is represented as its own attribute, whereas weak entity set is represented with its own attribute plus the primary key of identifying entity set. Why? This we have to add into your weak entity set. Can anyone give me the answer for this? Because the part we have done in chapter number 2. Weak entity set is represented in relational model in the form of all its attribute plus the primary key of identifying entity set. Can anyone give me the answer for this? Why we are taking the primary key of identifying entity set into the schema of this weak entity set? Okay, before that I will ask you, which we have actually covered in chapter number 2. What is the primary key of weak entity set? Students, what
Partial
is?
key.
Yes, partial key. Partial key and yes, partial key I heard, but after that what you said? Primary key of weak entity set is the key combined together. One is the partial key of its own. Yes, partial key of its own plus the primary key of identifying entity set. Yes, correct. So that is a primary key of strong entity set. So definitely with that, it is a part of your weak entity set, correct? Without that, if you are not considering the primary key of the strong entity set into the schema, then your weak entity set schema is incomplete, because its primary key is part of that strong entity set. You are taking from there, right? So that is considered into the schema. So now here we were having payment as your weak entity set, remember? So payment is the name of my schema, or I can say payment is the name of my this relation, where in that I will have what all attributes were there in payment?
Payment number,
Yes.
Payment
amount,
number,
and
payment
payment
amount,
date.
payment date.
Yes, correct. So we will have payment and payment date and primary key of strong. So payment is connected to which strong entity?
Loan.
Payment, loan. So what is the primary key of loan?
Loan number.
Loan number. So that will come in the schema of this payment. It is like this. We will have loan number, payment number which was its partial key, payment date which was its own attribute, payment amount which was its own attribute. Out of this, now payment number and the loan number together will act as a primary key for this table payment. Okay, clear student now? How the weak entity is converted into the relational schema. Suppose my payment is also connected to some another strong entity. For example, I'll say customer. So the primary key of customer will also come into this payment. With this only we will show the connection, how the complete diagram or complete system is connected together. Okay, with the help of relational model. Any doubt in the strong and weak entity set, student? Anyone is having any doubt into converting the strong entities and weak entities into the relational schema? If no, then we will move ahead. Because this is very important, student. Can you tell me?
Can you explain again?
Yes. So here, when we are having a strong entities, there are two types of entities which we are having. Out of that, strong entity and weak entity. When we have to convert the strong entities into the relational schema model, we have to take that entity name as our table name, or you can say schema name. For example, in our case, we are having branch. So I can write, for example, here suppose I want a branch.
Only the weak entity part I want.
Okay, strong entity is clear? Okay.
Yes.
So in weak entity name will act as a schema name or table name or relation name. Okay, so payment is my table name, where it will have the attribute, its own attribute. So it was having the attributes such as payment number, which was a partial key for the payment date, and payment amount. Now this payment weak entity, for which other entities it is connected. So it was connected to the loan. Yeah. Here you can see this payment is connected through relation loan payment to loan entity. We have to consider entities to which it is connected. And loan is a strong entity. So the primary key of loan will come into the weak entity to identify payment. Otherwise, your payment cannot be identified only through the payment number. So for that, primary key of connected we have added here loan number. Now, what will be the primary key for this payment? In schema, the primary key of identifying entity set plus the partial key. So this together will act as a primary key for my payment schema. Clear? Any doubt in conversion? Suppose now I am saying some other entity is also connected to the payment through any relationship. So that primary key will also come into this payment schema. Okay, if it is a weak. Fine, we'll move ahead. These are first two rules. Converting strong entity set into the schema. Second, converting weak entity set into the schema. same statement you have to write when if it is asked for the theory. We'll move ahead. Representing the relationship set as a schema. How many types of relationship sets are there? How many types of relationship? Only in ER diagram, if you are having relationship as many to many, then it will be represented as a uh, table or schema. Only the relation which is having many to many is represented as a schema with attributes of the primary key of the entities for which it is connected. In proper statement, you can read out here. I just give the simple lines. A many to many relationship set is represented as a schema, means as a table with attributes for the primary keys of the two participating entity sets and any descriptive attributes of the relationship set. Means, I'll just consider one example for that. We were having many to many. Which relationship was a many to many? Which relationship we in our diagram were many to many?
Customer and loan.
Customer and loan are the entities, beta, are not relationship. Relationship diamond. Entity is done. Remaining customer loan, I will come back later on, but I explain you how to represent the strong entities and weak entities. Now we are moving to the relation. This loan branch is one relation, account branch is one relation, then this loan payment is one relation, borrower is relation, customer, banker, depositor. Now out of this relation, all these works for. Out of all these relation, which relation is many to many? You can see here branch and account are connected with this, but this is one to many. So we don't consider this now. This is one to many. Uh, borrower. Borrower is many, and here also many. Between customer and loan, borrower is a relationship which is many to many, correct? Similarly, there is one more relation which is many to many. Can you tell me? Find out.
Deposit.
Depositor or deposit. So here we have written depositor. So here depositor and borrower. These two are my many to many. Any other relationship which is many to many? No, right? So now when I am converting this ER diagram into the schema, these two relationship will be represented as my tables like entities. Okay. So for that schema, what attributes I will have? So for borrower, borrower is connected to which two relationship? Friends, you only give answer, because if I give answer, I know everything, but you need to understand. So borrower is connected to which two relationship?
Customer and loan.
Customer and loan. What is the primary key of customer?
Customer ID.
Customer
And
ID,
yes, and primary key of loan?
loan number.
Loan number. Is there any other attribute which this relationship itself is having, that is its own descriptive attribute for borrower here itself? Is there any attribute for borrower right now present in the
No,
diagram?
ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
So now this borrower relationship. Yes, Swaraj.
No, I was saying no.
Okay. So this borrower will be represented as one schema with attribute customer ID and loan number as a new relation, new table. Okay. Then only you can connect these two in your coding. Remember, so now you are having doubt why we are not showing here loan number for customer, because this we will get through the borrower. Okay, now understood. So now my borrower will be the new table with attribute customer ID and loan number. No other attribute. Now can anyone give me the answer for depositor? How this depositor schema will be represented, because it is again many to many between customer and account. Now give me what schema will come for this depositor. Anyone? Schema will come for depositor.
Customer ID,
Yes,
account number,
yes.
access date.
Access date. This access date is its descriptive attribute with this relation itself, and primary key of this and primary key of account will come into this table. Now clear many to many how to represent the relationship into the schema. That was the rule for many to many. So we were at this point. Many to many, sorry. So this was about the many to many. For borrower, they have given customer ID and loan number. Okay. So till here clear, it is very important for your exam point of view. Many to many relationship conversion. Okay. Next, we are having one to many and many to one. Here we can see many and this is one. Okay. This is total double line. Many to one and one to many. Both are having the same rule. Relationship sets that are total on the many side can be represented by adding an extra attribute to the many side containing the primary key of the one side when it is many to one or one to many. So in this case, what you have to do, the one side is my branch. Branch is my, this is one and this is many, right? So one side primary key. Here now this account branch will not come in as a new table in my schema like many to many. Okay. So what I one side. What is the primary key of one side? Branch name will be added into my account relationship. That is a many side which is having a total. Usually we are not looking for the total, we add it. So branch name is the primary key of one side for this particular relation. So this will be added as a foreign key into my account side. Okay, clear? So one to one, one to many and many to one. Rule is clear. So here instead of creating a new schema for this account branch, what we are doing, one side primary key is added to the many side. So these two entities are related through the branch name. Clear? Why we are not creating? Can anyone give me answer? Why we are not creating this account branch as a relationship new table schema? Because it will unnecessarily add the redundancy in our, or you can say relational model, which is not required. Okay, we just need to show the connection between these two tables that we can show via this, because this is one which are these are participating in total. So we are having one side primary key to the many side. Okay, one to many and many to one rule is clear. Last one is one to one for relationship set. So now here the rule is same as the previous rule, that is a one to many and many to one. What we have to do, one side primary key we have to add to many side, but how to add? But here both are one to one, right? So what we have to do, any one side, either right side or left side, any one side you consider as a many by yourself and add the primary key of other to that many side. Okay, that's up to you which you want to show as a many and add the primary key of second side to the many side. Okay, so specify considering this cardinality as a many. Okay, so that was about the relationship set. The table corresponding to the relationship set linking a weak entity set to its set is redundant. The entity set which is connected, such as our payment, right? Payment table is already having the attribute of loan number and payment number. So if we are again showing that table then what we are doing again unnecessary, we are repeating these two values. So that is redundancy. So there is no need to show the schema for a table which is connected to a table in the sense relationship which is connected to a weak entity set. So this is again a separate rule. Weak entity relation which is connected to the weak entity set is redundant. No need to show that in a schema or relational model. Clear? So schema up to here, everyone is clear? I have covered the few rules. One is for strong entity conversion, one is for weak entity conversion, then 4 different rules for relationship conversion: one to one, one to many to one, and many to many. And then I have covered relationship connected to the weak entity set is a redundant. Okay. Now coming to the attributes. How the attributes, every attribute is represented in a schema. Composite attribute means what? Can you give me example of composite attribute?
Name and address.
Customer
Name,
name.
address. Yes, correct.
Mhm.
Customer name. So now here the attribute which is further classified, further divided is known as a composite attribute. So when I am writing the composite attribute into my schema diagram, I can say schema diagram or I can say relational model or in schema, how to represent this attribute? Now I know, suppose customer was there, right? In customer, we have, I think first customer name was the attribute or name which was divided into first name, middle name and last name. Purposely I have added those in my ER diagram to come to this particular rule. So now here, how I will represent for customer relation, I will have customer ID, I will have customer street, I will have customer city, I will have customer type. Then about name, how I will represent customer name I should write or customer first name, middle name, last name. So that for composite attribute you have to represent in that table only. That is a customer table only. Only thing, you have to specify those divided attributes separately, all separately. So you can write in different ways. Write is composite attributes are flattened out by creating a separate attribute for each component. So my first name, middle name and last name will be represented as a separate column. So I will not represent the name as a column in my customer. Instead of that, I will have 3 different columns with customer, the first name, middle name and last name. So here I can write the column name as name dot first name and name dot last name, or simply I can write first name and last name is also accepted. Okay, so anyways I can write these columns I will add in the relation, that is my customer only. I will not create a new schema. In customer only, instead of name column, that is attribute name, I will write this 3 column. I have middle name also, so first name, middle name and last name. If you want to specify for which attribute you are writing, you can put as name dot, but I suggest not to go for this complication. This you will use only for a theory part, writing a theory answer. But in when you are converting, you will just write first name, middle name and last name. Okay, so that is about the composite attribute. Multi-valued attribute. Which multi-valued attribute was present in our ER diagram? Which attribute was multi-valued attribute? I think in employee it
Phone
was
number.
there. No, in our diagram which we have
Dependent
taken.
name.
Yeah, we have taken dependent name. Phone number is multi-valued, but I have not shown that as a multi-valued in my diagram. See, everything depends on your diagram. You can show phone number also as a multi-valued, but right now I have shown one only for your understanding. In your actual diagram, you can show both. So now here we have taken dependent name as a multi-valued attribute. So this multi-valued attribute will not be added into your strong entity set. That is my, I think, employee, right? So employee will not have my multi-valued attribute as one of the column. It will be represented as a EM. You can see here EM, entity and multi-valued attribute. Okay, so it will be represented as a new schema with the value as EM. E means primary key of that entity for which that multi-valued attribute present, and M is some other name for that multi-valued attribute. Okay, so in our case that is given everything again whatever I just told you. So I'm having uh, dependent name, right? So what I will do, I have given some new column name, new table name, that is employee dependent names. Employee is my main strong entity and dependent name is my attribute name. So by considering these two, I have given name as employee dependent name. You can give any name over here, but try to give the name which is related to that entity and multi-value for your understanding. So I can write EMP underscore DEP underscore name is okay. Now for this, what will be the column? As I said, EM. E is my, here you can say E is my employee ID, primary key of strong entity, that is employee. So employee ID, and multi-valued attribute is my dependent name. So for that, some other name you can give. I have given D name, any other name, because dependent name I am using over here. So I have given some other name for that D name. Okay, so these two will come in as a column for my multi-valued attribute table. Okay, here. So now this is example that is not required. Clear till here? Any doubt in composite attribute, multi-valued attribute, relationship, strong and weak entity set? All student. So I'll move ahead. Representing specialization via the schema. Specialization or generalization. Okay, both are same. So if in our case, I have added one, that is a account having two specialization. One is a saving account and other is a checking account. Now there are different ways you can represent into the schema. You can follow any. Form a schema for the higher level entity. First, higher level entity. In our case, which is a higher level entity? In our diagram, which is a higher level entity for specialization?
Account.
Yes, account is our higher level entity and it is having other two entities, that is a saving and checking account. Then create a schema for lower level entity. Include the primary key of higher level entity set and normal attributes of the entity set. Okay, now here suppose I am having person. Person is my higher level entity, so I can say customer is a person, employee is a person. The attributes of person are this: name, street and city. Out of these I am considering name as a primary ER diagram. Okay, so for your lower level entity, that is a customer and employee, I'm just taking the primary key from the higher level, name and here name. So this is the primary key which I have taken from higher level entity, and these are its own special attributes of customer and employee, its own attribute, local attributes. This is one way to represent. So this is one table, this is my other table, and this is my third table. Okay, where this lower level are identified with the help of primary key of the higher level entity. Okay, now here there are some drawbacks when we are considering this method. Suppose getting information about an employee requires accessing two relations, the one corresponding to the low level schema and the one corresponding to the high level schema. Now, getting information about employee. You can see employee and customer are low level. Suppose I want to find out the complete information about the employee. What I have here, name of the employee and the salary. But I don't know the street and city of the employee, which is present where? Higher level entity. You're getting student which is present with the higher level. So when I want to get the information of the lower level entity, I have to access employee table as well as I have to access the person table. Correct? Similarly, if I want to get the detail of the customer, I have to access the customer table as well as I have to access the person table, because here I am not considering these two attributes. I'm just taking the primary key for reference. So that is a one problem drawback, that I need to access the two tables to get the detail of the low level entities. But I can go for second method. In second method, what you can do, you are having person as your normal higher level entity. Okay, agreed. Then I have customer and employee. What I am doing, taking all the attributes of higher level entity here. See, name, street, city, name, street, city, and then its own specialized attribute. But here again there is one drawback. What is the drawback? Can anyone tell me? What is the drawback in this case? What is the drawback? After looking this, yes, anyone try? What you can see here, data is repeated, redundant data, redundancy is added. So that is the main drawback. If specialization is total, the schema for generalization entity set not required to store the information can be defined as a view relation containing union of the specialization relation. But explicit schema may still be needed for foreign key constraint. So that is here main drawback we are getting. Street, city may be stored redundantly for people who are both customer and employee. Suppose we are having here, we have learned that disjoint and overlapping, right? I can say person can be customer as well as person can be employee. So when I am storing the data in customer and employee for the same person, this information, street, city, is repeated. So again, that will be a redundant information. But still, this is the best and mostly this is preferred method for the representation. Okay, that is a last part, that is aggregation. How to represent the aggregation? To represent aggregation, create a schema containing primary key of the aggregated relationship. All the entities which are connect together in aggregated relationship, that is represented with the primary key. The primary key of the associated entity set, connected entity set, and any other descriptive attribute for that relationship set. Okay, so we have seen this example, right? For aggregation, employee, job, and branch, where we have converted this as one aggregated entity. So this can be represented such as we are having here managers. This is our managers relationship, which is aggregation of this entity and this. So managers itself is not having any primary key, right? So it will consider the primary key of other. When we are coming here, works on is having the primary keys as employee ID. We are having job, whatever primary key here, in this case title is the primary key, branch name, and manager name. So all this together will represent it, the aggregated relationship, that is managers. Okay, primary key of connect. Suppose I am having any specific attribute, descriptive attribute over here, that will come again in this. If it is not there, ignore it. Clear? So this is about the rules which you are supposed to use for converting ER to ER. Fine. So now we will go to we will convert this banking example into the schema. Fine. So for that, now you are going to give me the answer. Okay, one by one. Relation schema for banking enterprise. First we are having, I will ask you based on this diagram. Now student, one by one you are going to give me the answer. Suppose first we are having a bank. Okay, strong entity. We'll start with a strong entity. So we are having a branch as our strong entity. Can you tell me what will be the primary schema for branch? One person can give only one answer, okay, in today's session now, based on all the rules. So one of you can give the answer for branch, schema for branch.
Branch name.
Branch name,
Branch ID.
no, let her complete. Khushbu, you complete for branch. Branch name
Oh,
is there.
yes, ma'am. And
For branch, what all attributes are there? Branch name is there.
yes, branch city and essay.
Yeah. So now my branch is represented as a branch name, branch city, and branch asset. Okay.
Mm.
So that is my one relation is done. Fine. Second, now we'll come back to customer. Who will give me the answer for customer? Give me the answer for customer schema. Customer is my strong entity set. Kaustubh is there. Kaustubh, can you give me the
Ma'am, the
answer?
diagram is not visible properly.
I have already shared with chapter number 2 with you. So in that the diagram is there. You can open that.
So customer ID,
Yes, customer ID,
customer city,
customer city. We are having all the strong entities are done, right? Fine. Now we will go for a weak entity. So weak entity, we have only one weak entity, that is our payment, which is totally participating through the relation loan payment, right? So now here, I think I'll show you diagram like this. That is more clear now. So now weak entity is payment. For payment, we have already seen what will be the schema. So can anyone give me the answer for that? Whoever is giving the answer now, tell your name, because I can't. When I play the slideshow, I cannot see you.
Ma'am, loan number
Yes, loan number,
and payment number.
payment number, and
Payment date,
yes,
payment amount.
payment amount. Out of this, what will be the primary key?
Loan number and payment number.
Correct. What is your name?
Mitesh.
Yes, because I can't. I told you I want to know who is so many to many. So now, can anyone give? Will it come as a new schema or new table? Will it come as a new schema or new table? I told you only many to many relationship table will schema will be presented into the model. Remaining one to many to one, and one to one. Those relationship will not come as a new table. So for that, what we are doing? So one to many. If one to many is there, primary key of one side is added to the many side. Okay. So now for this one to account branch, this will not come as a new table. So for that, what is a one side? Branch. What is the primary key of branch? Yes, student.
Branch.
Yeah, here. When we are writing the account relation, we have account number and balance, right? But as one to many relationship of that branch and account, we are getting branch name as our foreign key over here. So this is you can also represent the foreign key with the dotted line because it is a primary key over here. Clear, student? Now next. Yeah. This relationship done. Now coming back to this loan branch. Which type of relationship it is? Loan branch is which type of relationship?
Many to one.
Many to one or one to many, right? So here it is one and here it is many. It is one to, sorry, this is many side. use only one standard. I am using all for your understanding. This is one to many, right? So Cust Banker will not come as a new schema. So one side, what is the primary key of one side? What is the primary key of one side in this case?
Employee
Yes.
ID.
Yes, employee ID is a primary key. So this employee ID as a primary key of manager added into the relation employee. Okay, clear? Now all the relationships are done. We have done customer, we have done loan, we have done branch, account, employee, we have done, then multi-valued attribute we did. Now only I think uh, generalization and specializations are left, right? So those generalizations, specializations are this. This will not come into the relationship, okay? Easier. Instead of that, these two entities will come as a new table. One is saving account, other is checking account. So here I can have attributes as account number and interest rate. And for this checking account, I can have account number and overdraft amount. Okay, correct? Is a relationship schema. So now we have done almost each and everything from this diagram. So I have represented that for your reference. We are having strong entities branch. Customer in that employee ID is my foreign key and type is the attribute of that relationship set. Loan is my strong entity set. Branch name is my foreign key. Account is my strong entity set, whereas branch name is a foreign key. Employee is a strong entity set, whereas manager employee ID is a foreign key. Multi-valued attribute, that is a dependent name I have considered. You can write any name over here, and accordingly you have to write the primary key of that entity and some other name for that dependent name. Then relationship many to many, I am having borrower, that is customer ID loan number, and depositor customer ID account number and the descriptive attribute. Now this if you want to show one to many and many to one as your relationship set, then those will come like this. Suppose if you're going account branch, then primary key account number and branch name. The whichever many side, that is account number is a primary key. But this already, if we are adding this branch name as a foreign key into the account, no need to draw the extra table for unnecessary redundant data. So this one to many and many to one, we don't need to show as a separate table like this. So all these are reduced. No need to go for a new table. I have just kept this for your understanding. This you are not supposed to show into the relation schema. Then weak entity set, that is our payment, having the attribute of primary key as a loan number and payment, that is a strong entity set primary key, and weak entity set partial key and all other attribute of the weak entity set. Then we are having is a primary key of your parent class, parent entity, and the descriptive attribute of that. Here again primary key and descriptive attribute of that. If you want here, you can add other attributes also of the parent, but not required. That was about the relational schema for banking enterprise. Now here in this, any doubt any student is having, you can ask me. I have finished from my side for the relational schema. And I have planned only to cover this because this is very important. And this is your experiment number 2. Convert your ER diagram, which you are doing right now, into the relational model that we will see when we will have a 2 hours practical slot. So any doubt, students, in this, if you have? Yes.
Ma'am, while adding schema, we did not consider multi-valued attribute or derived attributes.
No, multi-valued attribute, we are not supposed to consider those into the table. That is your entity, that is employee is having dependent name, right? So this dependent name attribute will not come into this employee table. it will come as a separate table, multi-valued attribute table. That is, I am giving some name for the table. You can give any name for the table, but it should be related with that attribute. So dependent name is my table name, and how it is connected to your relational model. So primary key of the entity for which this is present, this multi-valued present. This multi-valued present for the employee. So employee ID is the primary key, and some name for my multi-valued attribute. I am giving D underscore name, dependent name. Okay, clear? And derived attribute will not come into the relational model because that is reduced due to the entities which are present. So in derived attribute was present in employee, right? So start date is present over here. I know the start date when the employee started my joined my company, start date, and today's date also I know as per my system date. So based on start and system date, I can find out the employment length. So there is no need to show the derived attribute into the schema model. Any other question? Okay, student, this schema model you can represent like this in your exam, but this is just a representation. Actual diagram you have to draw for this schema, which we have written now. These all are schema, branch schema, customer schema, loan schema, and so on. But you have to show the connection. We have added here this, right? Employee ID, branch name. But we have not shown that those into the connection. So for that, actually, I don't have board. We required board for that. What I will do, I will take a picture of the diagram which I have created for you, and that I will share with you. Right now, I can show you that if it is visible for you. I need to just put on my camera. Yeah, student, the diagram will look like this. I don't know whether it is visible to you. You can see something like this. Is it visible slightly, at least some part? Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
No.
No,
Uh,
ma'am.
okay, then. Okay. Anyways, what are the ways to represent the diagram? I will just tell you. I have represented the diagram in the form such as whatever table you are having. Suppose I am having customer, so that customer table name will come, and below that all the attributes will come in a box. I will just show with one simple one. Okay. Suppose I am having here customer, so I will write customer. Then this is my strong entity schema. So below that, what I will do, I will insert a table with whatever number of what number of attributes I am having. So right now I have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 columns. So I'm adding this. The values are suppose customer ID. Then I have first name. Then I have middle name. Then I have last name. I have customer city. Then I have customer type. Then I have type. Type was not there, right? So these were the attributes, right? Before my creating the schema. Then after that, one attribute I forgot, which I have not added. 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, customer street I have not written, which was there. Correct? This is done. Then that part is done. Then I have some, suppose another entity which is related with customer. I'm taking right now that customer are related with borrower, right? So I will take borrower as another, which is having two attributes. So I will have a table, insert, 2, right? So I'm having here, I'm just making it smaller. Usually this you are drawing in, but for your practical you have to show this schema diagram. So for that purpose I am saying customer underscore ID, primary key of customer, and it is having primary key of loan, that is loan num, right? Now here my customer ID is the primary key of which table? Customer, right? So what you are supposed to do, you have to connect your customer ID, that is this customer primary key, which is not its own primary key, it is a foreign key over here. You have to connect this customer ID with actual primary key. So this is the customer ID. I have to go with this. Connect to the primary, connect with the primary key. I'm going with this is just for your reference. I'm showing diagram. I will share you completely so that you will get idea what way you are supposed to do, and show the arrow towards the primary key. Sorry, I require the arrow. Show the arrow towards the primary key. So customer ID is my primary key. So I'm showing the arrow towards it. Okay, clear here now? Here you can see this is a foreign key in the borrower. So this is present somewhere as a foreign key. So from here you have to go to the primary key, show the underline for this customer ID and all this, and towards the primary key you have to show the arrow. Same way I have written for all the, initially you first write all the strong entities, customer, loan, branch, account, employee, then multi-valued attribute table, then saving, checking account table, payment weak entity, then go for relation. And then or you will get your diagram complete. As per our this diagram, you can see here customer, right? With employee, right? Customer and employee. That at relationship itself is having, you can see here that this relationship is having type attribute and that is coming in customer. So first that's why I explain you to write this way and then represent in a diagram. So this employee ID and type will come in my schema diagram. So that is my schema diagram. I will have here employee ID and type. Now out of this, type is simple attribute, doesn't matter, but employee ID is a primary key of employee. So now from here I will show the line, because here it is foreign key. This will go to the primary key of employee, that is employee ID, with the arrow towards the employee ID. You will have arrow. Clear? Any doubt in this? This is the way you have to represent your schema diagram. Any doubt right now? I'm trying to show you the schema diagram, but it is not visible. This is the actual diagram which I have created for your banking examples. Somewhat I tried to show you, but right now I don't have option to show you it like this. So what I will do, when I will share all the notes, I will give you this. Okay, this is the complete diagram. See, the diagrams is too lengthy. Try to show your diagram in a neat way. Okay, now any doubt in this? No, then we'll stop here. Those who have done, yes, Kaustubh.
Ma'am, can you please give me the example for derived attribute? I mean,
Yes,
easiest example.
easiest example, age. Student age, you can get with the help of birth date. Suppose I am having student entity, and
Okay.
student entity is having the attribute as a date of birth. So with the help of date of birth and today's date, can you calculate the age of that student? Yes, echo is coming. Also unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Yes. So with the help of date of birth and system date, that is today's date, I will find the age of that student. So age is my derived attribute. So if derived attribute can be find out with the help of other attribute, so that we will not add into the table. That is a relation. That is a schema in schema. Okay. So that is one example I give. Simple example for understanding. Clear?
Okay, as it changes over time, right? It can be derived from
Yeah.
another attribute.
The value will be give you will get from another attribute. So it changes
Okay,
based on
okay.
the time. Yeah. Any other question? Yes, diagram was not visible. So already the ER diagram is given in chapter number 2 PPTs which I have shared. Again, I will take a screenshot of all the notes and I will upload all the notes for you people. So you can read out and you will get all answers in the notes itself. So you can, after that, still if you are having any doubt, you can let me know. So we'll stop here. I'll take attendance.